quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
And welcome to Tabletop Gold, all you gold miners. Do we call our listeners miners?
We don't. That isn't what we
I had
call them.
an idea. Gold rushers?
Gold rushers.
Rushers?
Gold diggers?
She takes my money.
No.
No, nobody?
What was
All right,
I said
fair
something
enough.
on the chat the other day, or
On our Discord at tabletopgold.com.
It had to do with the gold rush.
we liked prospectors.
The
prospectors.
Oh, peaches.
It was like a week ago, so now it's so far gone.
What's up, all you stream panners?
The ore heads.
Alchemists?
Alchemists. Ooh, I like alchemists.
Okay. All right.
Call them alkies for short? No?
Self-identified alkies.
We say as we all sip our beers.
Help us out here, listener.
Yeah, help us out.
please.
We don't quite know exactly what to call
How do you
all of you fine
self-identify?
people. I self-identify as Lars Casteen. I'm your host and your game master for this show. Let's meet all the rest of these folks here who have a number of what I think are great ideas for what to call our listeners. David Chernicoff is here.
Yes. Good evening, Lars.
Robin Lange is here.
Hello.
Our Matt Humphreys is here.
Hello.
And Zoe Chernicoff is also here.
Hello. Wait, we forgot something.
Oh, what did we forget?
Well, when you got to Zoe, I almost wanted to hear Zoe the Tin Man Chernicoff, but Zoe's not the Tin Man Chernicoff.
Yeah.
The Tin Woman Chernicoff?
Lady Tin.
I just got done reading a rock book at bedtime, so I got a lot of minerals jangling around there. A malachite woman? I don't know.
Lady Malachite? Lady Malachite.
Like it.
Well, I think that, this is the podcast where we try to figure out what to name various people, groups of people. We're going to get into our game in just a moment. It's going to be an exciting night tonight, everybody. The possibilities are wide open in our game. I am excited to see what it is that people want to do with this new day. But before we get into the game, Zoe, Lady Malachite, we were talking about holiday traditions, and you had an interesting holiday tradition to share that I wanted to talk about right now.
My family, I'm an only child. I think this has come up before, but we're very non-religious, but Christmas celebrators. Both of my parents grew up in church-going Christian families, but so Christmas was always a thing. But every year we did a treasure hunt, and every year it was themed, and it always started with a clue in your stocking, and that would then take you had to read the clue and go to one place and then to another. So, they were shorter when I was younger, but this went on until I was way too old for it.
So I'm sorry. I just want to ask a couple questions. This was a treasure hunt around the house?
Sometimes outside. One year I had to go to a neighbor's house.
And are you looking for things that are specifically planted, or are you just getting stuff from the world?
No, it's not like a scavenger hunt. It was each clue would lead you to some sort of present. David's face right now is,
David, explain your face.
I don't have any face. Tin Man has no faces.
I'm thinking about your neighbors having to be dragged into this.
Yeah, I was 10 or so. They were good for, this was they had a kid about my age and like sort of got conscripted into this I had to go knock on their door. That was the year I think my parents sort of cruelly did a bunch of difficult math problems I had to solve.
You say parents, but you mean dad.
Dad, yeah.
Wait, so this was both a this was both a way of you having fun getting to a present, but it was also like a skill check. Like you had to like pass a
Yeah, I mean they were, from when I was little it was like look behind the couch, and then when I got older they were like
roll a DC 15 pre-calculus check.
Yeah, that's right. So like some years were harder than others, but the clues after, I was 8 or 9 never said, okay, go, you'd have to kind of puzzle it out and figure out where to go.
Did you enjoy this? Was it fun? Like, do you look back on it fondly?
I mean, I've like started last year. I did one for our kids who are still tiny. Like, I feel very fondly about this. I mean, it also like makes Christmas go longer because you have to go find not all your presents, but like, it adds like this fun puzzle solvey thing to Christmas. I feel very positively about. I mean, not the math year. The math year actually sort of stood out as a traumatic incident, but
the first year that I joined Zoe's family for the holidays, which was also my first Christmas. I was raised Jewish. The group that year was Zoe and her parents and, me for the first time and some other relatives of Zoe's as well, which included a 6-year-old cousin. And the treasure hunt that year was directed to the 6-year-old and me.
That's awesome.
I believe it was Dr. Seuss themed.
Yes, that's right. It was Dr. Seuss themed, and
were the two of you following the same clues? Like, were you racing against this 6-year-old?
And I crushed her. No, we were working together, and at each stage we would find another, I believe, Dr. Seuss book. Like, I think we were accumulating books as well, and then there was something at the end as well. And once I participated I totally got it because it's really fun to do. And as Zoe's saying, it turns the sort of this little part of the gift giving into an actual activity. You like get out some energy and some excitement. It builds excitement, and also you get to sort of like move it so that you're not just kind of immediately just tearing through presents, but you're still in little kid gift receiving mode. Like it totally works.
It also permits you, like, it's not the thing where everything you see under the tree is what you're getting. So, if, for example, like one year I was given a bike as my treasure hunt finale, which I then infamously dropped down the stairs of our townhouse and permanently like dented the wall at the bottom of the stair. But like, if you're getting a bike at Christmas, right, you come out and you see the bike. Like, there's kind of no way to hide a bike, but with the treasure hunt, you can like hide the big gift and you don't know that you're getting it.
Yeah, I have a memory of something like that on my birthday. I don't think there was a treasure hunt. I think I was just led into a basement and there was a bike down there. And I think that was basically how
that's what was in the basement.
Was it y'all's basement or just a different?
It's hard to say why Lars likes dungeon crawls and I like riddling out fun puzzle. I don't know. It's difficult to say.
So now I know if I ever need someone to be on a scavenger hunt team with me, it's Zoe, because I love scavenger hunts too.
Love a scavenger
so
hunt.
much.
Did anyone else have a parent at a winter or a birthday holiday like hide a present or like deceive you on a big gift?
No, I had to do a scavenger hunt at work once, and I was one of like, I feel like Lars may have heard this story because the majority of people at my work were not happy that we had this like team building scavenger hunt thing. And since Lars's wife and I work together, she may have mentioned this. Like, people at our work are still bitter about this. I loved it so much. And obviously then because of that, my team won by like a landslide. I was, as soon as I heard what it was, I was like, oh my gosh, I've done like 5 other scavenger hunts with this company. And everyone looked at me, they were like, oh God, I don't want to be in her team. She's insane. But then everyone who was on my team, like, we won a case of wine
Not
for
just
winning. And I'm
5
like,
others, but 5 others with this company.
yes, I'm that person.
Well, this episode is coming out right in the gap between New Year's and Christmas. So I hope everybody out there, whatever holidays you celebrate, whatever it is you're doing, I hope you've got a fun sort of activity that you do, or that you have a nice time with the holidays. It's,
I hope hopefully Krampus treated you well.
Well, that's actually interesting that you say, because Krampus or Krampus is actually like in the Pathfinder 2 bestiary. If you want to fight Krampus,
you
absolutely
get
can.
yourself a one-shot campaign and go
Is it wrong that I don't want to hunt a Krampus? I want to hang with a Krampus. They just seem like they're party animals,
cool.
right?
They're fun. Why not?
Like going around messing with people, getting naughty children all switched and whatnot.
Tuesdays
Does
with
he like take
Krampus.
them away in his
Yeah.
bag or something?
Look, there are a lot of things. People say a lot of different things about Krampus. None of that's ever been proven.
Come down to my basement.
There
There we
it is.
go.
We found it. If you're enjoying, so that's all to say happy holidays. If you're enjoying Tabletop Gold, please rate and review us on your podcast app of choice. Now, friends, let's get into it. Let's play our game. After a long day of adventuring and a long night of drinking and singing at Crook's Nook, the local hangout of Otari's less reputable population, the sun has risen on a new day. It is now the 15th of the month of Gosrin, and the moist sea air hangs comfortably on a cool spring breeze. In the distance, past the forest, you still see the ancient lighthouse, looking over everything you do here. But you're able to push those thoughts aside, at least long enough to take care of some business around town. So, everybody, it's a new day, Gosrin the 15th, right? The tax day actually kind of is tax day. It's sort of April the 15th, kind of.
Oh, not so loud, my head.
Yes, a little.
Poor Trill's got a bit of a headache after all the drinking and singing. Talking to Wolfgang Messy Board.
Wolfgang Messy Board.
That's Wolfgun.
So, well, yeah, it's Wolfgang Messy.
Wolfgang Messy Board.
Wolfgang Messy Board, his slightly less criminally successful younger brother. I kind of want to call a little bit of attention to the idea that Vadim in particular has a horrible hangover. As soon as he tried to sleep last night, instead of seeing the typical dreams with the face that he has been trying to identify, he instead just sees that shadowy butler that you have left behind in the area beneath Gauntlet. So it was pretty hard to sleep for Vadim. And the absence of his typical dream, I imagine, is somewhat disquieting for him.
Oh, definitely. I have to imagine this morning he's a lot grumpier than usual. Like if he had sunglasses, he would be wearing them right now, you know what I mean? And looking sort of...
Let's say that this day is going to start, I think because of the late night, we're going to start at 10 a.m. this morning. So what are people doing at 10 a.m.?
Trill's making her way back to Crook's Nook for some snooks. And to also just check in on Beffrey. While she's still trying to figure out her heart and her head, she still wants to see how Beffrey's doing after a night of rest and care from that creepily buff doctor.
Yeah. So you go into Crook's Nook as the last of the previous night's drunks are being sort of lifted out by their armpits and thrown onto the bridge. And the doc sees you approach and shakes his head, and it's gonna be a little time.
No change? Okay, I'll just take a snook to go then.
And Trill grabs one and heads out onto the bridge that Crook's Nook sits on to see if she sees any of her friends. So she, you know what? She grabs more than one. She grabs a couple to stand out and see if she sees any of her friends passing by to catch in the morning.
So I'm going to say that it takes you about half an hour for everybody to meet up and come up with your first plans of where to start in on the day.
When Norman arrives, he grabs the snook and he goes, "Oh, you got more locks. Thanks."
Sure.
I think we gotta follow the lead we've got. We've got those books. Mag, you still have them, right? Did you bring them with you today?
I've been keeping them with me to make sure nothing can happen to them. I still can't make heads or tails of them.
I think we should show them to Vandy, and then I think we should talk to her about those other books that we had on that slip of paper.
Mag pulls out a scrap of paper. What the Worm Knows, Grave Feasts, Secrets of the Skull. These all seem like the kinds of things that these undead and undead worshippers would have been interested in.
All right, well, let's see what Vandy can tell us, and then we'll load up, and then, I mean, back to the keep, right? Back to the, and he like turns and looks at the lighthouse in the distance. Back to that light.
So you take a short walk from the bridge upon which Crook's Nook rests. And you follow the path down along the shoreline, overlooking the dock where business for the day has basically already wrapped up. The morning ships have already come in and gone out. And you walk along the path towards the Dawnflower Library, the 3 large blue sun-reflecting globes of the nicest building in town.
Mag will step forward. She skips up the stairs 2 at a time, and as she reaches the top and pushes the door ahead, she turns back to her friends and motions them all to come in.
So as you enter the main reading room at the Dawnflower Library, the sunlight streams in through the windows, beautifully reflected off the marble floors as you hear your footsteps reverberate around the large room. And you see Vandy Banderdash, the halfling librarian. She looks up and she sees Mag, clasps her hands together, and says, "Ah, Mag Daruna, it is so nice to see you. It looks like you have business on your mind. How may I help you?"
We're glad to be back, Vandy. And you're right. We've recovered a number of books, and we're unsure what they contain. And we have a list of further titles as well that we're hoping to locate and be able to review.
Okay, which would you like to discuss first?
Well, I suppose we'll start with these. Mag kneels, which brings her eyes level with Vandy's height, and she swings her backpack off and reaches inside and pulls out the books that they recovered from the library in Gauntlet Keep.
So she looks over these books, and her face turns like bright white after a few moments of reading the books. And she walks over to Mag and like taps her on the knee so that Mag can like crane her head down to a whisper-ready volume.
Mag does.
We at the Dawnflower have a sizable collection, but really nothing like this. If you were to bring me histories, fiction, witty satire, or, we even have room here for, and she looks both ways, some tasteful erotica. I may have some insights, but this, and she opens a book that you've given to her, and she points to a page that has an illustration of like 25 children with razor-sharp teeth eating an elephant that has collapsed on, from disease.
Yikes.
Oh.
And this page is like lovingly illustrated in what looks like blood. She says, This is just not our area of expertise. I'm sorry, Mag. I know you're putting yourself at some risk here, but this is really not my this is not what the Dawnflower Library really specializes in.
I see. Well, I thank you for reviewing.
And what were the names of those books you were looking for?
And Mag takes the other books back from Vandy, and as she does, she says, the 3 titles that we were looking for specifically were What the worm knows?
No,
Grave feasts?
absolutely not.
And, at the risk of this being terribly predictable, Secrets of the Skull.
What? No. The Dawnflower Library. I have never imagined a book as horrible as that one. I'm sorry, Mag. I feel like I'm very far out of my depth for helping you with
Vandy?
this situation.
Quick question
Yes?
for you. While we're thinking about books and you got your catalog there, do you have an undercommon dictionary or a basic interpretation guide?
Oh, sure. We have dictionaries of all of the common languages, and she runs over to a section of the stacks and produces an undercommon dictionary.
Could I check this out?
Well, we don't really have a checking out procedure, but I trust you, and I know what's at stake for your investigation that you're on. Go ahead, just please bring it back in something resembling the condition that you're getting it.
Great, thank you. One other question for you. We heard last night about, I think, a god. Do you have any books on, I don't know, unusual gods or a god called the Ghost Queen?
Well, as the head priestess and librarian of this church, I do know something about the divine. Ghost Queen. No, I'm sorry. I have no idea what that could be.
Nyang Nyang Bonabo?
Right, Ghost Queen. No, I don't know what that is.
And Norman flips to the Undercommon dictionary to go to the page that would have Ghost Queen, and he's trying to pronounce it right. He's just sitting there going, Nyang Bonabo.
Vandy, out of curiosity, do you have anything for Undercommon that's like more of a phrase book? You know, like as common, so you can
Like if you're a tourist,
Yeah,
so you
going
can-
to
ask for the restroom or what time the train arrives, that kind of thing.
and she says, I'm not sure that I have anything like that, but there's a bookshop in town that potentially could help you out.
I was going to ask if there was anyone who specialized in more. Wow, look at the detail of that illustration. That is horrible.
It's horrible. Can you please close this book? I don't want to look at this any longer.
Oh, sorry, I was
let me
just
just turn the.
admiring
Oh my god!
craftsmanship.
Oh no!
Oh.
Now there are 26 children eating this elephant.
I
Well,
must say,
they are
Vandy,
not
it's,
letting up on that thing.
Those
it's
teeth
awful
are
taste,
sharp.
but great execution.
Yeah.
During this whole time, by the way, Trill has just been curled up under a chair because she's
Moaning.
still got a headache from all of the drinking, and the Crook Snook Snook has not helped. And she's just now kind of like, with hearing the bits of Undercommon, starting to have flashbacks to when she was slightly possessed by that Morlock. And so you just start hearing this yang, yang, yang coming from under one of the chairs in the library.
Is your friend okay?
She will be. Come on, Trill. I think we've gotten what we need here. Will you guys follow me on a quick detour? I have an idea.
Mag hoists Trill out from where she's curled up under the table and hands her the pain-killing root that she keeps in her pouch.
What do I do with this? Do I chew on it? And oh gosh, your pouch is warm.
So you make your way out of the Dawnflower Library, and what's your next destination here?
Norman goes, just follow me for a second. And he takes a small path that's up behind the library that goes up to the graveyard where they had been 2 nights before.
And in the graveyard, you still see the aftermath of that fight that you had. There are people, rebuilding the gravestones that got hurt. There's a crew of 2 or 3 people tending to the graveyard as you approach.
And he walks with a very determined gait to the grave that Haplo came out of. And sort of he gathers in front of it and waits for everyone to catch up to him.
Why have you brought us to this place?
I can't shake this feeling that, we didn't know the old guy that long. And then we lost him, and then he came back, and then we killed him. And I don't know. I thought maybe stopping by here and saying a last goodbye to him would let us process. I can't shake this feeling that we haven't processed the fact that we killed this guy who came with us. So what do you say? What could we leave or anyone have any final words? Vadim, you hate the undead and we put him to rest. Could you say some words?
I can try. All right. Well, I think it's important to remember that the undead are not the living person. So, in fact, you did not kill your friend.
Well, no, Mag did, but yeah.
Well, in any case, she destroyed its body, but the soul of your friend has already moved on. It is in one of the afterlife. I think if he was a good person, he has moved on to a good afterlife. I am sure Pharasma has guided his soul to a place of peace, and his travail is now done, and it falls to us, the living, to move forward and carry the burden that he has passed along to us.
I grew up here in Otari, and for as long as I've been alive, Haplo was a part of the town. We only went adventuring together for a short time, but I know that it was as important to him to discover the meaning of the mystery in the lighthouse and to safeguard this town as it was to me or to anyone else who lives here. In continuing forward, I think of it as a charge that he gave us and a repayment of a debt.
I thought I kind of dealt with this before because I sang at his funeral, but
It's beautiful.
I guess it's worth saying goodbye again. Well, Haplo, you made me start to take things more seriously. Thanks for that.
That was lovely, True.
Norman looks down, one tear coming out of the corner of his eye, and he goes, "We found Otari, man. And he's going to take us to that light, and someday there'll be books about this, and we'll make sure they're dedicated to you. Goodbye, old friend. Or short-term friend, but who is old? Anyways, bye."
And as Norman is sort of dithering at the end there, you hear the sound of horse hooves on the ground. And you look up and you see Captain Lardis Longsaddle.
Our favorite.
And he's just glaring at you, and he says, "Well, it looks like you decided to come back to the scene of the crime, I guess."
Oh, hey, Captain Lardass.
"Hey," he says to you, not giving any time of day to this insult.
How you doing, bud?
"No, I'm fine. I just came here to pay respects for people that I've lost."
That's what we were doing.
"That's interesting because you see that fresh grave over there?
Oh,
That's
no.
where they laid my beautiful boy Barnett down." Sure, he wasn't my boy in terms of blood. But we had dinner together. We broke bread. And he was just starting to break through, starting to own what it was to really be a member of the Guard and the sacrifice that took. Although I'm sure that's not something any of you care about, given who you spend your time with. That's right, I saw you down there at the old Crook last night. I know what kinds of people you are, and I've got my eye on you.
You know,
That Barnett. I'm sorry, what is it that you want to say, little lady?
I was gonna say that it must have been really tough for you to have to say goodbye to someone, but it must have been nice to see that he went in such a brave way.
You know, I never got the chance to say goodbye to him because the last thing he saw before anybody got the chance to say anything to him was his own body being cut in half by a damned crab.
Yeah.
Right.
And he takes his hat off of his head and mats his brow, even though it's like 55 degrees Fahrenheit today. Somehow he's still sweating. And he says, all I know is that if you folks hadn't been here, if that mayor hadn't been soft on you, I'd still have that sweet, sweet Barnett. And he spits on the ground. And he says, I don't have a reason to take you in yet, but you better watch your back, because I know I'm going to be.
I hate to split hairs, but I'd also point out that he probably would have been killed by that thing anyway, by some zombies before that thing got there, because we helped kill the zombies first.
Oh, right. I remember how you selflessly threw your bodies into the line of fire and didn't try to get my guards to help you for a problem that you probably could have taken care of yourself, even though it was plainly clear that they were not capable of dealing with the situation.
Friend, we wanted
Did you
to
not
get
spend
your guards.
over 5 actions trying to persuade my people to rush into that battle?
Jessica was amazing. Mark, come on.
Mark's a whole other issue. He's on probation.
We could tell we were in the presence of greatness, and we wanted them to be recognized by the town for the warriors, the incredible warriors you've made them to be. And Norman gets up and claps a hand on his shoulder and smiles at him.
So that's a diplomacy check to make an impression. Give me that diplomacy, please.
So it's a 19, but today Norman is trying something new, and Fraum, who was yesterday boosting his deception, is today boosting his diplomacy. So I believe that adds a +1, which makes it a 20.
Longsaddle's face goes sort of weird for a second. And he looks at you and he says, you I don't like. He points at Mag. You I definitely don't like. He points at Trill. Singing those songs. He looks at Vadim. He says, you look like a mess.
Come over here and say that to me, eh?
I'm over here. You drink a tomato juice or something.
Only if there's vodka in it.
No. Okay. Well, and then he looks at Norman and he says, but you're talking a little bit of sense.
I know a great guard when I see one. And I just want to tell you, you're doing a fantastic job out there. We really appreciate you, man.
And he sort of sneers and is made uncomfortable by this. And he's like, look, I just don't like you. And he doesn't want to talk anymore. And he rides away confused, sort of thinking hard about like how this interaction went and what he's questioning about himself and all that kind of thing.
Well, let's try to avoid him, Norman mumbles as he rides up. All right, guys, let's get into town and get back to that keep.
Lard ass indeed.
Lard ass.
So where would you like to go next, friends?
From what Vandy said, it sounds like we should try Morlabintz and see whether he has anything more to offer about these texts.
Yeah, Trill's ready to go to Odd Stories.
Sounds good.
So you take the path around town and you find your way to Odd Stories, the bookshop. And as you push the door open, the smell of dust immediately hits you. Like this is a place with many, many ancient things within it. You see a man that some of you recognize as Morlabint. He is a short human guy with thinning red hair. He has like an exposed skull. No, that's not what I meant to say. He doesn't have hair is what I'm trying to tell you.
He's bald?
The man is bald aside from hair around the edges of his head. His skull's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's still inside and everything. Okay.
It's inside. But he's sort of puttering around behind the counter, reading a book and sort of laughing to himself as his partner, Karl, is on the far end of the room. He's a taller man with thicker gray hair wearing a thick gray wool sweater. And he has a pad of paper or a pad of parchment that he is taking notes on inventory with his quill, and they're keeping to themselves as they're dealing with this quiet day at the shop.
Norman, ever excited to show off new skills he thinks he's gained, flips to what he believes to be hello in the Undercommon dictionary, just to give a greeting in the language he now believes himself to be fully capable of.
Give me a society check.
That is a 24.
Morlabent looks up and he says, "Very good. Yes. Nang
was-
nang bonobo," he says.
It's all the words are ning ning bonobo.
He's also talking about the Ghost Queen.
No,
It's really an inflection-based language.
Yeah.
Tonal.
It's highly contextual.
and pronunciation based. If you mess up, it's
Naang, bunabo.
yeah.
And he turns to Karlth and he says, "Karlth, look, it's those violent the people with the weapons who
The Knights of
protected the town
Gauntlet,
at the
Norman
right.
says.
Well, that's certainly not a thing. But yes, he look, Karlth, it's those people that saved the town at the graveyard.
That's us. Hi.
We're thinking of calling ourselves the Prospectors, or maybe the Alchemists.
Well, what's in a name? And Karlth looks up over his glasses and walks up and he says, "That was quite impressive what it is that you did. We've lived in this town for decades and nothing has ever happened like that before. Quite impressive. This used to be quite a sleepy place. I have all of the histories to document it." And he points towards a spotlessly maintained shelf with the histories of Otari assembled upon it.
And Norman, misunderstanding that they're talking about the fight, thinking they were talking about his Undercommon pronunciation, says, "Yeah, I'm a quick learner."
Oh yes, of course. You're referring to the Undercommon that you clearly just read from the dictionary that you're holding on to. Yes, it's quite impressive. Good luck. I recommend feeding your brain, your mind, as much as you possibly can, because the more you know, the more you stand to learn. Is what I always say.
Mag steps forward into the small talk. And swings her backpack off her shoulder to where it lands on the table with a thud. We've come here with some items we've recovered from Gauntlet Keep. We returned after our skirmish with the undead and the graveyard to try to determine what it is that's sending these evil creatures toward town. And in one corner of the dungeon beneath the keep, we found the texts we have with us, and we have 3 titles as well that we're hopeful you might be able to shed some light on what these things mean.
I'm going to say that one of the corners of the books is spilled out of your pack, and he snatches it up and he says, "Oh my word, where did you get this?" And he jumps up and he says, Karlth, they've got that book with those children eating that elephant. Can you believe it? I've been looking for this thing for years. Oh my goodness, these books are disgusting. Fantastic. What an amazing find you've come up with. And Karlth is shaking his head. He's like, frankly, your taste in books is simply, it's disgusting.
Trill's still in Mag's pouch during all of this, kind of recovering, and her head kind of pops up out of the pouch at all of this. She's like, "I'm sorry. Where are we? What's happening now?"
Why, you're in Odd Stories. It's a shop that my husband Karlth and I maintain.
I get that, but I'm just gonna go back to sleep in the pouch now. This is too much for me today. I've just had too much going on.
Yes. You tend to those issues as you'd like to. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. And he runs into a back room and then appears a few seconds later trailing this long scroll behind him. And he says, I've been looking for a number of books that you probably would only be able to find in such a library as the one that you've encountered in the areas below the Gauntlet Keep. Perhaps you could search for more of these books for me.
Absolutely.
And he frantically starts wrapping the scroll up. He goes flip as the scroll rushes towards him like a roll of toilet paper in reverse.
And Trill's hand shoots up out of Mag's pouch, reaching out to grab the scroll.
I'll take that list if you're gonna pay us for it.
And if you're going to pay us, do you have a little bit of extra flesh? Weird question, I know.
No, I'm sorry. I don't understand the question.
Never mind. You had to be there.
Exactly
Anyways, what's your rate of
okay.
recovery?
He says, "Well, for these books that you've brought, it seems like you have 2 of the books on my list. I'll pay you 5 gold for each of them. Do you accept these terms? Please do. And I would really please do. Please accept these terms."
Of course, we haven't been able to make heads or tails of these, and I think the text.
Oh no, of course not. You wouldn't want to. These books are obscene.
So far, the only effect they've had on my life is to make Vandy Banderdash think slightly less of me. So we'd be happy.
You showed these books to Vandy?
Yeah.
Carl. They said that they showed these books to Vandy.
They did not meet her light erotica requirements.
Yeah, Carl
Tasteful
says
erotica.
she has. I'm sorry, but the woman has terrible taste in erotica. She's unbelievably basic.
Mag says, I know what you mean, although to be clear, she does not.
So Morlabent runs back into the back room, emerges with 10 gold, and hands them over towards you.
We're looking for information about these 3 titles that are mentioned in this note. They are What the Worm Knows,
Interesting sounding.
Grave Feasts,
Really, that's interesting.
and the third is Secrets of the Skull.
Secrets of the Skull. Well, I personally don't know really much of anything about those books. But perhaps I should become familiar, I guess, is what it is that you're telling me. So I'll try to look into them, sure.
Yeah,
Would
if
love
you could
any
order them.
information you can find.
This may be a weird question. I know we've given you a lot of weird questions, but do you all have any books on a lesser known goddess known as the Ghost Queen?
Ghost Queen. Carl, do you know anything about a Ghost Queen? And Carl says, no, I'm afraid I don't have much information about that at all. Never heard of her.
Nyang Nyang Bonabo? Norman tries.
Yes, hello. Good to see you too.
And then in a slightly more dejected tone, he goes, Nyang Nyang Bonabo, meaning goodbye. But
Oh, Ghost Queen. Carl steps forward and he says, before you go, there's something I was interested in asking you more about. You mentioned that you were exploring areas beneath Gauntlet, that you found something in a library below ground level.
mm-hmm.
Trill's head pops back up out of Mag's pouch, and she leans. She's resting her head on her hands as she's trying to join in the conversation now. Okay, guys. I'm awake. I swear. I'm part of this now. Okay. Hi, yeah. Let's do business.
It's good to see you. Oh, you sang that beautiful song at that funeral.
Oh,
It's
thank
quite
you.
good to
Oh,
see you. I
love
appreciate you
fans.
joining me.
I love fans. Thank you.
Well, it moved me. It moved me, of course.
Oh, you move me.
Okay. Not sure what I did, but listen, I'm just a little confused because I consider myself something of a historian, and I've never heard in any of the stories of the Rose Guard, I've never heard any discussion of anything underground at Gauntlet Keep. It's an interesting wrinkle that you've shared. Would you mind telling me what it is that you found Rose Guard related at the keep?
Norman wants to sense motive.
Sure. I'm going to roll a perception check for you to see what you can tell about our friend Carl's incentives for asking you this question.
Yeah, I will say Mag is not sure in this moment whether she would want to share anything about the message that could have been from Otari's ghost, whether that would alarm the town if word got around, or, whether it's best shared or kept close to the vest.
So would Mag like to sense motive also?
I suppose so. Yeah. Although it's a more general thought for the party than even just this one interaction.
Out of character, I don't think there's anything necessarily I would be suspicious about in this request, but
yeah.
So Norman and Mag both look at Karl as he's asking this question and try to get a sense of what his motives are. And to both of you, it just seems as though Karl, given that he's a historian that lives in Otari, this thing that he's just overheard from you is threatening a lot of the things that he understood about the founding of this town. And this seems like an incredibly important personal issue to him.
So Mag is getting a feeling from Karl that learning more alarming information about the keep is kind of potentially putting Karl on edge. And Mag knows from her own time growing up in Otari how close to everyone's heart the mythology and the story of the founding of the town can be. And so she decides for the moment that she's not going to disclose the information about the written message from Otari Ilvashti. So instead she says, there does seem to be quite a bit below the keep. Multiple ways down, multiple chambers. We've seen and fought some strange things. We don't know what to make of it all yet, but we intend to keep exploring, and we'll let everyone here in town know if we come across anything that could be a threat. And she sort of looks meaningfully at Norman and the others to suggest they leave it at that.
I can tell I'm making you somewhat uncomfortable, and I do not, of course, I do not mean to be doing that, but it's just that none of the stories of the Rose Guard say anything about levels below ground like you're describing. It's very interesting.
That's fascinating.
I agree, it is quite fascinating. You know, it seems to me that maybe you're unearthing something even the Rose Guard never knew about.
I suspect you're right.
Well, I'm pretty sure, and Trolls kind of have to say, I'm pretty sure the Rose Guard died up on the top level.
Well, it wasn't the Rose Guard that died. It was just the thief, Otari, that died, of course.
And Belcora, Norman spits.
Ah. Did you see the site where Otari actually met his end? The room with where Belcora's fireball destroyed the good thief?
We did.
We did.
Yes.
There was a whole
Amazing.
pit, and it was filled with these little blue goblin guys.
History truly walks among us, doesn't it? You know, I'm more interested in Zarmavdian. Morlabint, of course, has interest in the wizard for his magical studies, but I find the story of Zarmavdian more interesting. Did you know? And he looks very pleased to be able to talk to somebody about this topic, because nobody cares. Did you know that Esefna and Volverjani stayed in town? Their deaths are very well documented. Peaceful deaths, surrounded by loved ones. Very typical for a hero of their stature. But Zarmavdian, his later life is far less well documented. There are historical documents held by the Menhemes and Verjani families that hint towards some sort of argument between them in their later years, but at a certain point, Zarmavdian just sort of disappears from the town record.
Fascinating.
It would be interesting to see if there's any additional knowledge to be gained about the old wizard out there in that keep somewhere.
Kind of weird that Zarmavdian's the only one who didn't have a last name, isn't it?
Morlabint looks up and he says, why should a person have a last name? Why is it that that's something that I should have? If you're a great wizard, sure, you're born with a last name, but you don't share it with people once you become a great and powerful wizard. And he waves his hands in the air and like a jet of flame bursts out and a number of books sort of catch fire. And Karl is like,
Cool.
calm down, you old bastard. And starts putting the books out.
Well, we'll keep an eye out.
And Karl says, well, maybe it isn't anything. I'm getting my hopes up. Sometimes history ends and you're just left with question marks. It's part of the fun of history, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Norman says with a bland smile on his face.
While this has been happening, Vadim has been poking around in the shelves, possibly to slap out some fire, and he finds a title that sort of interests him and goes, "Oh, is this a monograph on the life of Baron Syrian Aldori? May I purchase this or read it? I'm..." And he gestures towards his blade to demonstrate that he is a member of this tradition.
And Morlobint falls and he says, "Oh, that sword is beautiful."
Yeah.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And Carl comes over and says, "Let me get a look at that thing." And they both sort of look at the sword and they say, Of course. Take the book if you want it. Look, nobody's buying that old thing anyway. Take it, read it. If it can, if it aids you in your sword play in any way, of course, please take it. There's really no, there's no issue.
I'm in your debt. Thank you very much. This is tremendously exciting to me. And he's sort of already got his nose in it a little bit, trying to parse out sentences. But
so as you step out of the bookshop, the bell above the door rings as you find yourselves once more out on the road going north-south down the length of town. What would you like to do next?
Vadim? Norman cuts in, trying to like tap him on the shoulder as his nose is in the book.
Yes, Norman?
That thing in the bookstore with the beautiful sword. I mean, it's a beautiful sword. No one doubts that. It made me remember a couple days ago. Well, right before you guys met Ao for the first time. Didn't I find a magical rapier? What happened to my magical rapier? I feel like I could have used that.
Going to say, we should probably go to Blades for Glades and get you a magical weapon of some sort. You're kind of behind Mag and I on this stuff. And he says, was that it?
Doesn't feel like a total answer, but yeah, if everyone's down to, I mean, we've gotten all this money. I've got the couple of things I can sell. I think I should get one. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Somehow I'm not satisfied, but I'll go forward.
Excellent. And he claps on the back and starts striding forward a bit more rapidly than he previously was.
Because you took Norman's rapier, right? Like you just stole it? Is that what happened?
He was unconscious at the time.
Wasn't even Norman then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And things were in a kind of mistrustful place.
Yeah.
So where would you like to go next?
Well, I think Norman is heading for Blades for Glades, but that doesn't need to be super prolonged.
The door to Blades for Glades swings open and you find yourself standing in Vol Rajani's... That's not the man's name. You find yourself standing in Carmen Rajani's weapon shop /
So he's a descendant of Vol Rajani? Did we know that already? We knew that already, right?
Yeah.
It came up in a conversation.
It's worth restating. Yeah, it's worth restating that the mayor is a descendant of Asefna Menhemez, and Carmen Rajani is a descendant of Vol Rajani.
Cool.
So the door swings open and you step inside, and there's Carmen Rajani sneering at you.
Hey, friend!
Well, if it isn't the heroes of the graveyard.
Heroes? I don't know about that. You and I both know we're here to put it to that mayor, huh? Norman says, remembering the previous conversation they had.
Oh, are you? That's interesting. I wouldn't call you heroes either, with that whole situation at the graveyard. Can't help but notice, but our dear mayor showed up when the danger had passed. Almost like he knew it was going to happen. This just seems like a strange coincidence is all. And look who is there to help him out. The four of you.
Are you implying a conspiracy theory here?
Look, I'm just asking questions. I think it's interesting that when something bad happened, the mayor was out of harm's way, got a little orchestrated violence with four of you, and then it comes out the other end, and Who do people like more? They like the mayor more. They like you more. It's just an interesting coincidence.
You don't seem to like us more. Counterpoint.
I've got my eyes open. Not everybody around here is able to see what's really going on.
That's an interesting bow tie you're wearing.
Oh, this old thing? And he takes the bow tie off. He loosens the bow tie.
Isn't that wildly impractical for welding?
And he says, well, it's interesting that you should say that because our blacksmith shop, it's closed for business.
Really?
You see any weapons here that you like, I'll sell them to you, but I'm not going to fire up the old forge to help people out who might be helping old Osif.
What if you were helping out people who wanted to take some of Osef's money and find a new and better way to run this town?
I'm going to call that a deception. Oh, that seems like you were lying to Volverjani.
Hilariously, I feel like this is maybe a moment where Norman's being, but I'm happy to go deception.
Wait, so Norman wants to take the town over? Is that what you're saying to me?
I don't think Norman himself wants to take the town over. I think he likes the idea that fixing the keep might allow the town to turn into something that isn't run by Menhemes, but
Okay.
you know, I
So
don't care if it's...
I'll call it diplomacy then.
It can be either.
As you try to make an impression on Carmen Rajani to make him trust you more.
That's a 23 plus Frown is a 24.
Wowie.
Very good. He looks at the four of you and he says, okay, well, you I don't like. He says, pointing at Mag. Don't care for music, really. Pointing at Trill. You're a real religious nut job, he says, pointing at Vadim. He says, but there's something about you that I kind of like, he says to Norman.
Thanks.
He says, Norman, would you mind, can I tell you something real quick?
Oh, please. Yeah, I'm all ears.
He says, look, I'm not really much of a blacksmith. I lost the guy that does it. He left.
Oh, no.
So, again, I'll sell you weapons, but there's not much more I can do other than sell what I already got here.
Okay. Well, I'm looking for something that I hope you can help me out with. And that's a magical rapier?
And he says, oh, yeah, sure, we've got one of those. And he points at the wall, and there's a magical rapier that you can get.
Well, it's a decent-looking sword. It's not a beautiful sword, but I think it'll do nicely. Does it have a name?
No, they don't got names. You call them whatever you want to call them.
All right. Well, I'll think on it.
Robin hates this guy.
And Norman's like, can I trade in this old rapier and take that one?
Yeah, sure. So let's take a step back because you guys have a lot of treasure that you can sell. And let's just talk through a big strategy. I get that you're looking at investing money here at this shop for this magic rapier, but I've taken the liberty of looking at all the treasure that you've collected and so on. And basically, you guys have new money coming into you as a group, 157 gold pieces and 5 silver pieces.
Some doll hairs.
So let's just talk about the larger purchases that you're making.
So the things that come to mind are, if we're going to deal with that shadow butler monster, we need something that we don't have now, and I don't know if
we need either positive damage or
force damage.
Magic
Force.
missile. I think that was the other thing for that.
Well, they
Shadow
have
Butler,
force.
wasn't it?
I think magic missile comes with the force damage.
it is.
Yeah,
force
magic
damage,
missile
yeah.
does force damage.
So I don't know if that's something where our spellcasters would just need to choose a different thing, or whether we need a purchase in order to, or we might, I guess, in order for more than one of us to be able to hit it in some way, so we're not I'm not like swinging a hammer at a shadow and doing like a point of damage each time. So that's one thing. And just for Mag's part, I have had my eye on a striking rune to put on the bastard sword to get some extra damage. Although I don't even know if we could get one affixed if there's no blacksmith. Is that how this works?
Well, if somebody has a crafting skill, they can try it themselves, but it'll take a day, and it'll take a tenth of the cost of the rune, which for a striking rune, which costs 65 gold pieces, you'd have to buy the rune, and then you'd have to attach the rune for 6.5 more.
And you have to pass a crafting check to do like
And you have to pass
roll
a
a
crafting
die
check.
and it doesn't. All right, well, I have crafting, but not a ton of it.
Why not give it a shot?
Great.
So it sounds like you guys are interested in making a couple big ticket purchases. There's this +1 rapier for Norman, and there is this striking rune, with the idea that Mag might spend the daylight hours today attaching the striking rune to this bastard sword.
It's sort of like the process of history. We inherit that from the dead, and we then must make it our own.
So it seems like you're going to spend the rest of the day making a variety of purchases, scrolls, all this other stuff. And Mag is going to, with her +4 to crafting, make an attempt to attach a striking rune to Haplo's bastard sword. If she successfully does that, when she hits with that bastard sword, it'll roll 2 weapon dice. But in order for this to work, she's going to have to make this roll, which means a 15 or higher on her d20.
Ooh, so that's
I'm-
an 11. Oh, a 15er.
I'm picturing for this whole day, like a 1980s movie montage right now. Everyone like going about town and shopping and doing their thing while Mag is sweaty in the forge, banging away at this sword with very dramatic music in the background.
Or possibly, you're the best around.
Every time, that's all I can do because I never remember the words.
So here's the music.
Mag quickly realizes this forge has never really been set up properly in the first place. She makes quick work of getting the forge running and hot so that she can make this attempt. As she does so, she notices that her magically repaired hand, when exposed to heat, turns a slightly different shade of even darker crimson red.
Ooh.
And as the forge heats up and the sweat begins to gather on Mag's brow, she takes a deep, slow breath and attempts to affix the rune.
Go, Mag,
And rolls a 1 on the die.
Oh no.
Do you want to use a hero point?
What do you think, y'all?
Does it mean the rune explodes if he doesn't?
No.
It just doesn't work.
Use the hero point. You might as well try again.
Do it. We've got 2 sessions until we break off the next 5, so just do
may as
some
well.
heroic shit.
Yeah.
Once you
The
got your-
heat is on. Let's see what happens with this die roll as
right.
Mag reaches deep and tries her hardest
Right.
to
Come on, Mag.
attach
Wait, do we have any
this
hero
rune.
point cards that would be helpful for
I
this?
just looked.
We don't.
I don't think
we
so.
don't.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, with her first attempt, Mag nearly drops the rune into an open flame. But she,
And Carmen Rajani walks by and he's like, "You don't know what you're doing. Pathetic."
Neither do you, shouts Vadim.
Mag snorts and spits, and having, I guess, caught the rune with a tong, she heroically tries again. And that's a 21.
As the final smack of Mag's hammer finally etches this beautiful rune into the blade of Haplo's bastard sword, transforming it into a +1 striking Haplo's bastard sword.
The two runes match to one another, each on one side of the far end of the blade, holds it up to the light, admiring her handiwork, and says, "This will do to take the old man's memory back to the keep to carry out the mission for which he gave his life."
And as Mags finishes inscribing the rune onto the sword, are you heading back into the dungeon?
Hell yeah. It's what time right now? It's like 5 p.m., 6 p.m.?
6 p.m.
I mean, I guess we could just go at night.
Cool.
Oh, so the sun starts setting. The party steps out into the steadily darkening evening. And by the time they approach Gauntlet Keep, you see the moon is starting to become brighter in the sky.
Do we want to go deal with... Vadim? I would think Vadim, after his dreams, might want to push the party towards dealing with that affront to Pharasma.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he would say something like,
I dreamt last night of the shadow again. It troubles me. Perhaps we could try and put that thing to rest.
I don't like losing.
I don't like losing either, Norman. It's weird when we think alike.
I know what you mean, Trill Girl. We'll figure it out.
So you head back into the office at the base of the lighthouse, push through the secret door, climbing down the stairs, and you find yourselves once more in that large circular room with the dried out, long dead, enormous purple worm, one tooth missing from its mouth, one warhammer pulled out of its body. And you see yourself standing in front of the door that had been closed a day ago by Norman's mage hand as Vadim ran for his life from the oncoming shadow. You see the negative magical energy coursing up from the floor to the ceiling.
Trill's got her backpack open, scrolls at the ready. She looks up at Vadim.
Okay, Vadim. Do you want to take the lead on this one? I feel like this is really your fight here. We're just here to support you.
Well, thank you, friends. That means a great deal.
and he steps to the fore of the party, puts his hand on the door, looks back and says, "Everybody ready?" And then turns quickly and pushes the door open.
He pushes the door open and sees these 3 alcoves, one on each side of the room, with this sarcophagi contained in each alcove. And I think that we should establish that one of the reasons why this matters to Vadim is that you have sworn an oath to Pharasma to destroy undead. So the moment when you left this shadow behind was in some ways kind of a betrayal of that oath, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that the faiths do make clear is that it is anathema to leave undead living, but you can save yourself.
But if you didn't come back and deal with it,
Yeah.
that's on you, right?
For sure. And Vadim, obviously, this has been at the forefront of his mind. He's been mulling on it ever since they left, basically.
Trill casts dancing lights into this hallway to cast some shadows to try and locate where this shadow creature is.
Norman lights up the bastard sword once more. He has his rapier in one hand and a scroll in the other, and he goes, "Maga, from what I understand, I think that'll help some. But Vadim, do your worst.
And as Norman touches the bastard sword, it blazes to life, this new intricate etching along the blade, casting extra bright light. And at that same moment, this multicolored, spinning vortex of light that Trill has apparated into the end of the room exposes the nattily dressed, formal wear adorned shadow with its white eyes floating within itself.
And Vadim sees it and says, "Come, let us pray."
And we'll pick up from there next time.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.